Perfect. Welcome to another episode of my podcast, Investing in the USA. We have a great guy here tonight. We have Sam Sales. Sam, why don't you introduce yourself? Because I don't want to even start to fuck it up. Go ahead.
Hey, Louis. Man, always a pleasure to spend time with you. I know we have a lot to talk about. For your audience, I am Sam Sells. I am a retired Air Force guy. Spent a little bit shorter career, 17 years in the Air Force. Spent most of that time doing global health, working with foreign militaries, governments, creating sustainable healthcare systems. I spent a year over at USAID, OFDA, the Office of Foreign Disaster Assistance. Of course, none of that exists anymore, unfortunately. Probably the most asinine thing I've ever seen the U.S. government do was kill the arm that makes such a big difference in the world. They were not perfect. We don't have to talk about that right now. But no government agency is remotely perfect. Um, so uh, that, and then I spent, and to be clear, I am a capitalist. I love creation of value and the exchange of value for capital. So I started a real estate firm. We did that for a while, focused on creating clean, safe, affordable housing. And in the process, really learned that the problem that I needed to solve was the same problem we had at USAID, which is how do you get resources into the right people's hands? Money. And two, how do those people get access to the resources? And then three, how do you track it? So when I went to USAID, one of the first questions I asked was like, "Hey, how do you track the funding of what you guys are doing? How do you track the money?" And the response was like, "Well, we don't. We try, but it's really, really hard." And as it turns out, it is really, really hard. You may think, "Oh, you can't just track the money." I'm like, "No, because it moves a whole bunch of hands and it gets into other countries, and then it's just impossible to track." And so how do you operate in a system where you don't have fidelity of data and not have issues? And of course, they had issues, and everybody has issues. You can't track the money. So now we have this Brightset Technologies company, and we have created the world's largest philanthropic capital market. So you can see more grants in our system. Grantauthority.org has tens of thousands of grants. I think today we're somewhere around 70,000 grants available. That's roughly three or four times larger than the next nearest competitor. And then we have hundreds of millions of records, 46 million organizations, 3 million foundations. So if you ever want to know who to give money to, a charity, you can go find there. You need to find funding, then you can go find funding in there. That's really the power of that system. We're excited to bring that and fund as many good nonprofits as possible in the world to do good things. I know I said a lot. That's where I'm at.
That's a lot, actually. That's a lot. At least I'm gonna say that to you right now that of all the guests that I had here in my podcast, you're the one that actually has taken the longest to say what you do because that's a lot of things. That is a lot of
Yeah.
things. So let me ask you something, Sam. I know that you also invest in real estate, and that's kind of what I do, and that's what I relate to the most because that's what I still do, right? Um,
Mhm.
but at the same time, I mean, you're building this great thing that you're building right now, this AI platform. That's what I call it because that's how I understand it, right? But in the real estate realm, you told me when we first met, a couple of weeks ago or so, that you had done several multifamily deals and commercial deals and that stuff, and you still have them active, right? Correct?
Correct. We did about 27, I think 27 different projects, mostly apartment complexes and mobile home parks. We did some storage,
Okay.
um, and we did a portfolio of single family homes at one point. I think
Okay.
there was
Okay.
30 of them or so.
All right.
Um, yeah.
So the question that I had for you is like, what did it take to build everything that you had on that industry at scale, at that level of scale?
So no kidding. I started with $30,000. I was
Mm.
active duty. I had saved about 20,000 in my TSP. a thrift savings plan. It's equivalent to the 401k.
Okay.
And I was like, I've got to get real estate. I got to do something to get me out of, because when I'm retiring early from the military, I got to do something. And real estate was what we had known. We had flipped some houses in the past. And so I reached out to my dad, who had just lost his job at 65 years old, was
Mm.
getting hired at another job. He's like, Sam, I've got 80K in my account. That's it. My entire retirement is $80,000 and Social Security. And I was like, well, Dad, you trust me? And he's like, maybe. Yes. And so we put our cash together, and I convinced some guy to sell me a 40 unit mobile home park for $495,000. And then we put our capital together. We convinced him to do it on a master lease. So we didn't even buy it. We did a master lease. We my 30-ish, his 60-ish of that. So 100K went into the deal. And no kidding, in 4 months that thing started generating a profit. My dad actually moved himself to the mobile home park and started cleaning it up from his very beautiful home sitting
Talk
on
about
10 acres.
commitment. That is commitment right there. Yeah, I'm gonna
Oh
move.
yeah. Moved. He moved and he loved it. He loved the people. He loved working with them, helping them get out of their poverty, and no kidding, the first 4 months work, the next 12 months we received 110% of our money back. So we made in the span of about 16 months, we made $110,000 return back into our pockets. And we were like, holy smokes, real estate, mobile home parks, they work. And this was 2019. So we
Mm.
did that, and then we did another mobile home park, and then we were completely out of cash. And then I learned about a thing called syndication, how to pull people's capital together. We hired an attorney. We did a deal. It was terrible. It was the worst deal I've ever done. Um,
Why? What happened?
because uh, a person I knew at the time had convinced me, or it kept asking me, we got to do this park. On paper, it looked perfect, but it was like 17 hours away. We were in Oklahoma and Texas where we were close.
Mm.
Like my dad just drove there. If it was a few hours away, he just drove there. Great. Handled it. But this place was 17 hours away, and it was in a small town, and the town was dying. So like it was all the things you should never do with a park or a
Yeah.
property. And we violated the location. And so it took us, we bought that, we worked really hard, and we put it on the market probably a year and a half later, and it took 5 years to sell that thing. We finally sold it at a loss, big loss. And of course, the guy who found it convinced me to buy it, is now, dragging me through court about it. So it's
Ah,
just, thank you. We
yeah.
lost so much money on that deal. So much money. So real estate, if you invest in the ways that you are supposed to, and you do a great job, like it is fantastic. It can be fantastic. Or
But
you
you
can lose
have
it
to
all.
know also who you invest with. Not only what, but also who you invest with, right?
Absolutely. So two things there. If you're investing with a brand new person and they are amazing and they're honest and they do what's right, that does not mean you're going to have a good investment.
Mm.
So your who isn't just, are they a good human, which that should be the first check, if they're a good human. The second is, do they have experience? Have they done bad deals before? And right now, I will never invest with somebody who has not done a bad deal in the past, because then they don't know what it looks like,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
I want them to know the pain that happens when you do a bad deal. So we've done a bad deal. We've done a few of them now over the years, dozens of deals. We've had some bad ones, right? And part of that's market timing. Part of that is we didn't understand the market. So if your who is in a place that they've never gone to, they've never been to, and it doesn't meet the normal requirements of location, size, scope, all that stuff, then you shouldn't do the deal with them. But if they're very experienced in the market and they're trustworthy and you like them, that's the who you need to go with.
Yeah. which may seem simple, but sometimes to find those kind of people is not easy. You have to kiss a lot of frogs to actually get your prince. That's what I've
That's
realized
that's
anyway.
that's ever true. And to be fair, I was a frog on that deal. I was a prince on the others, right?
I like
So
that. Yeah.
I was not the right who for that deal. And so for those folks who invest with us, we're taking care of them through a different vehicle, but it's like don't understand who you're investing with. And I mean, the great question is like, Lewis, you've done 75 deals. They're fantastic, but they're all in Texas. And now you're doing a deal in Maine.
Mm,
Uh,
yeah.
uh
Yeah.
riddle
Why?
me this.
The
Why?
question would be why? Who is there? Who's taking care of it? Who's managing the property? Like, yeah, I'm gonna ask those questions. That's what I would ask. Because
Yeah,
I want to know about that who. Who is the who behind the who that right?
right.
That's what I would ask.
And that's it. That's
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah. Yeah.
um I, you know, because of that pain, I will never do a deal like that again. And anyone I know, if they ever mention anything to me and I have a chance to look at their deals, I'm gonna, be very blunt and say, heck no, don't touch that thing with a 10-foot pole. On paper, it looks fantastic, but paper will never transition to reality because of one, two, three.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that. And also, I wanted to ask this formal question because then maybe I want to edit it, just the question, right? Um, so, what mistakes in your early career as a commercial real estate investor shape how you are operating right now?
Yeah, so I made two mistakes early on that didn't damage me for years. One of those was um, the deal that I talked about where we bought something way out, far away from us, in a town that was dying. The property itself was dying. Um, it was too much, too far, and we violated the location rules, period. We just did. So since we violated those rules of real estate, we paid the price. And so number two is I did a project with a guy who owner financed it to us, but something about the deal made me feel uneasy. It made, even though our attorneys were involved and everything else, it made me feel uneasy. It made my dad feel uneasy. It made my partners feel uneasy. And we all looked at each other and like something is not right here. There's just a few too many things that flag us, but we did the deal anyways.
Mm,
And about a year later, we realized that the guy had lied to us big time, committed fraud, and it
mm,
was it was very destructive to us financially. And so years later, that has been all finalized and closed out. But like if you ever don't feel right in your gut, you should just walk, right? You
yeah.
should just
You,
walk.
you don't owe anybody anything if you say just, you know what, let's just part ways. And yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And it's funny because we had about 100K on the line or something like that at the time, 200K on the line. So we didn't, part of the reason we didn't walk is because we had this money on the line,
sure.
but it cost us millions. The pain of that deal cost us millions. So if we would have walked, we would have lost 200K and saved millions. It would have been totally worth it.
Yeah.
It's so worth it. And so I think about, in life, God has given us this reason, this ability, this thing that we don't even understand, our gut or our conscious or
Yeah.
that thing inside of us, and that just flags a little warning sign. Hey, Sam,
Beware. Listen.
hey, listen, that still small voice inside your mind, and that we'd like to be like, oh no, 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 I got this,
Yeah,
right?
like this is just a voice. I mean, like,
It's
I
just
know
a
better.
voice. The numbers, but the numbers, the spreadsheet says, and
Yeah.
the spreadsheet says whatever you tell it to say.
Yeah.
And so, at the end of the day, it's like, we gotta listen. We have to
Yeah.
listen.
I always say, if there is doubt, there is no doubt,
Yeah,
you know? So it's basically the
I love
same
that.
thing that you're saying. If there is doubt, there is no doubt. So basically just you should listen to what that voice inside you tells you. That's just either God telling you, or guiding you, or yourself being cautious. And we have that thing, as you said, that will develop over the years, and we as Venezuelans, we have it. We have to have
Mhm.
it, because if you go out, or actually, when I grew up in Venezuela, right, not anymore, but like, because I live here now. But when I used to live in Venezuela, we had that sense that somebody's watching you. You're like, have to be careful.
Mhm.
Like at night or whatever. Just take your keys out. I mean, like, do this faster, move. All of those things. It's just practice for moments like this.
That's it.
Yeah,
For moments like this.
yeah,
And it, if you find yourself justifying something to yourself, you need to stop.
yeah,
You just need to stop.
yeah,
Um, you will never regret a deal that goes away that you could have made money on, right? You're not never going to regret that like you will a deal that you did that destroys you or hurts you
yeah.
significantly. And so I hear this a lot now that I'm in these circles where people are deploying hundreds of millions of dollars or $50 million checks, and I hear this all the time. They're like, "Sam, if I pass, I pass." It's like I don't lose anything if I pass. I only lose something if I invest and it's bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this. So at what point did you realize that real estate, or this type of like commercial real estate, wasn't the only system or industry that you wanted to disrupt?
Yeah, great question. So while we're in real estate apartment complexes, it's the law. People don't believe this. I don't know why, but I cannot allow somebody to live in my apartment complex for free. It's against the law. It's the Fair Housing Act. If you give one person free rent, you have to give everybody free rent.
Yep.
And so it's not like we're greedy landlords that we want to kick out our people. What we're doing, what it is like I want my people to be able to live and to be healthy and safe and have and love the housing that we provide. If they don't, then they need to let us know so we can help. Normally they don't say anything until they get mad later and do whatever.
Mm,
Like, well, why didn't you bring that up to the manager? We could have gotten that fixed. But what we saw was, people would lose their jobs and they would come to, if they finally came to our property manager and said, "Hey, I lost my job," we would have a book there with the 50 nonprofits in town that could help them. And it would be like, okay, you're a single mom of this ethnicity. Okay, then here's the ones who can help you. You're a dude. Well, nobody's going to help you because you just need to go get a job. That's how everybody kind of looks at you. No, it's, bro, go get a job, right? You got hands and feet. You can go do like that's kind of. I mean, it's how the system. But for like, if you're a 37-year-old single mom, you lose your job, and now you can't afford childcare. What do you do?
mm,
And I remember the first time we evicted somebody. This sounds terrible. She had cancer. She had three little kids. She had nobody to provide for her, and she was in our place for 6 months. We kept trying to get her help. We kept trying to get her help, but eventually we had to evict her. And that was it just tore our souls because it's like, I don't want to evict her. I want to keep her here. But at the same time, I'm breaking the law. And then we had other people say, well, I know she's getting free rent. We should too.
yeah.
And we can't do that. Like if we do that, we end up can't pay the bank. The bank comes and takes a property. They give it to somebody else who can pay, and they're going to kick them out anyways. And so when that happened, that point was like, we've got to do something to provide. And that's what set us down this tech path of creating a system that can get people access to resources. And here we are.
That's yeah, yeah. That's very good. That's very good. And so in that regard, what problem? Because you're basically talking about that problem, but what problem did you see that most investors or operators or nonprofits actually miss all the time?
So for somebody to get benefits from the US government, for starters, there's 110 million Americans who qualify for some kind of benefit from the US federal government. Okay. It's a massive amount. People listening to podcasts, Probably a third of them qualify for US government benefits and they had no idea. Now, within the US government, there's 500 different agencies who provide support to Americans in need, who meet one of the required criteria. And that could be from re-roofing your house with solar panels to picking you up and taking you to your medical appointments to all sorts of things. All right, there's all these benefits. Now, when you lose a job, what do people say? Oh, go to the unemployment office. That's one of 500. All right. That's one. And then you go there, they're going to do, all right, sir, fill out your form and 777 questions. And there's most of them are riddles that you're going to have to try and figure out what it's actually asking for.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, it's going to ask for your name 77 times. Right. And so because government forms are just idiotic things you've ever seen. Now, so you got to navigate that process. There's also 12 to 13,000 nonprofits who help people in need within housing, just within housing in the US. So how do you get assistance in a market where there's so many options, but you have no idea what they are, and you have no idea how to access that? And so I remember I put together this plan that we were going to go do this. I went to Scott Turner, the Secretary of HUD, because I thought, hey, let's go to HUD first. They're the biggest slumlords in America. They got 900,000 units, and we can help their people navigate the system, get access to job training, and then get out of, being on subsidies in 2 years, because that's about what we think. And he was like, Sam, go build it. I'm like, okay. So we hired tech firms. They came in, they couldn't do it. It was, no kidding. They're like, this is such a big deal. We're going to take this tech and run because you don't know anything about tech, Sam. I'm like, wait a minute. I hired you and we have an MOU and we have an NDA to build this tech. And you're telling me you're going to, like, literally in an email, we're going to take this tech because you don't know how to do it. You're not a tech guy. And like, this is bizarre. So then we built our own team and we built the tech. We had to invent a zero hallucination engine. And now I see these guys out there trying to pitch their stuff. They don't have a hallucination engine. So anyone who uses their tech will commit fraud.
Can you explain? Can you explain that? Because I know that you explained that to me before, or like offline. But explain to people that are listening or that are watching about like the phantom and the hallucinations and all that, because people don't know. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So this is the number one problem in artificial intelligence. And the problem isn't that it's a problem. The problem is that people believe sorry, my
No worries. I
here.
thought you were gonna do the treasure line of the movies. It's like, yeah, the treasure is buried, like, and you die, and you're like, where is the treasure?
Where is the treasure?
Don't do that.
Don't do that. So
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, the treasure is that people believe the AI is telling the truth. It's not. AI is architected. It is built on the architecture like a truck is on tires and a chassis. Like that is the core of AI, is to be creative. And to be creative, it lies. It makes assumptions about data that aren't true. And so anytime you ask Claude or Gemini or any of these others questions, sometimes it might be all right. Sometimes it's going to be 60% correct. In my testing, on average, it's about 70 to 71% accurate. That's Claude, Gemini, and ChatGPT right now. Right now, their best premier models are around 70-ish% correct.
That's just crazy.
That's crazy.
When you said that to me, I try to visualize that, and I think, because for people that are watching, they're not going to be like, no, 70%, come on, but I just make this analogy, right? So when you, and not so much right now, because I think they're getting better at that, but like before, when you used to ask, ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, for a picture of somebody reading the newspaper, you would see the guy, whatever, reading the newspaper, but you would see all these lines that should have been the headlines, like a word, it would be all these scribbles, like
Yeah.
crazy symbols, like
Or they
why,
have an extra
why,
arm. They have an
you
extra
know?
arm sticking out of the side of their head. Like,
Yeah, that's even crazier. But like, but I would say like, why would it create these symbols? Because like nobody's
yeah.
telling it to create those symbols. So, like, why would it create these symbols? I would never understand why. But now talking to you, it made me realize that that's what's happening. It's just basically kind of telling you, okay, this is what I think you're asking me to do. Like a guy reading the newspaper, and I think this is what a newspaper looks like, because it's not a human, right? It's just it thinks that that's what you want to see, and then you tell it, okay, but that's not text. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me put text on it. What text do you want me to put? Because they don't know either, right?
Right.
But you have to
Right.
keep asking to get a better answer. And the thing is that if you don't ask those better answers, you don't really know if it's actually telling you the truth or not.
You just hit the nail on the head of why they don't solve hallucinations. They don't care about it being 100% accurate because if it's not 100% accurate, what do? You come back and you keep using it,
See,
right? And as you use more tokens, you pay more money.
of course, of course.
So the companies, Claude or Anthropic, sorry, who owns Claude, Google who owns Gemini, OpenAI who owns ChatGPT, these companies make money from the hallucinations.
I see.
And so I get asked, I've had VCs ask me, Sam, you work in a garage, which I do. I converted my garage to a big office and a play space. It's awesome. How could you possibly have invented a thing that these big, top three frontiers don't invent? Well, the answer is one, they don't want to. Two, necessity is the mother of invention, right? We cannot go and help people in need, fill out or figure out all the things that they could apply for and fill out a form with 100% accuracy unless we solve the hallucination problem. Because if you fill out a form and you're 95% correct, and the government awards you funding based on a 95 or 98 or a 99% correct application, you just committed fraud,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? Even if it's
Yeah.
1% wrong, you just committed fraud. And so you can't build a system that turns poor people into unwitting fraudsters, right? They just think they're using a system and they trust it because it sounds so authoritative, but it's actually lying.
So is that what made you decide to build an AI platform the right way?
It is. So we kept seeing all the fraud. We were like, not the fraud, but the hallucinations. We're like, we have to build this. And so I did not invent the very, very, very poor piece of how do you take something and make it identify the hallucinations and fix it. That was invented by one of my partners. He's a former skunkworks guy. He's worked at DeepMind AI, Google's AI think tank. He's worked at Meta AI and these others. He's one of the few people I know who can build an AI from zero to hero, like code the thing. Brilliant guy. And I was like, hey man, I need a system that can do this with zero hallucinations. He's like, oh, cool. I can do that. And he built it. I was like, oh, well, that was easy. He's
Okay.
like, well, at the end of the day, Sam, it's just this, this, and this, which, I started doing all this research and all these big think tanks, like, yeah, it needs to be this, this, and this. And he was right. And so he built it, but it didn't do what we needed it to do. It worked in a very small section of our infrastructure. And so
Mm.
I took that and then I deconstructed and reconstructed over and over and over and over again and built this massive um, uh, zero hallucination engine that now can take any LLM output, uh, go find the correct or identify the assumptions, go find the correct base layer of truth, align that, identify what's hallucination, what was hallucinated, what wasn't, what are errors, what are flipped, what is almost accurate but misrepresented. This is what's killing attorneys right now. They're using Harvey, which is a multi-billion-dollar software company, and they're getting busted up in court because Harvey's AI hallucinates. So
Mm.
does LexisNexis, so does Westlaw's. All these AIs, they all hallucinate, and they're just destroying attorneys right now. Um, because it'll say, "Oh, according to case number, da, 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 da." Well, that case exists, but it had nothing to do with what they're saying it did in this
That is
section.
crazy. That is
And so
crazy.
they're getting hammered. Just,
And
there's,
so how do you know, like how do you test that your platform actually works the way it works, and it's actually giving you right answers, and like, if you tell it to go and search for file, 341-A, it's going to actually tell you, okay, this is what the file is about, and this is these are the people involved in that file, or that docket or whatever.
yeah. So at first it was literally, you know, uh, take ours, compare it to chat or to Claude, to chat, and everyone get all of the citations, and then physically go back and look at the citations and say, ours says that this is what it is and this is what it says. Yep, that's correct. What did theirs say? Nope, that was incorrect. Nope, that's incorrect. That is correct. So Gemini will quote 10 different things. Claude will quote 10 different things. Chat will quote 10 different citations. And we can literally now go and see and look at every single one of those citations and be like misrepresented, incorrect, completely hallucinated, or accurate. And so we even have like this demo on our site, zstandard.com. You can go there and you can type in questions about the one big beautiful bill, and
Mm-hmm.
it'll ask our system versus the other systems, and it will, and you hit that button and it'll tell you exactly what's hallucinated, what's right and what's not right. And it's just when I show that to people, they've been like, "Oh my goodness." I'm like, yeah, it's a problem. It's a massive problem, but it
So that means
sounds
that
so
if
authoritative.
people actually use your system, and they use it to watch TV or the news, for example, it would actually tell them, okay, this is not really what actually happened. This is not what he said, or this is not what she said. This is what actually happened. Is that something
So
like that, or can that happen?
that could happen. We have not built that out to receive streaming news and then go verify the facts, but it could. Like we very well could build that system out because all it's doing is it sounds simple. It's actually really, really complicated. But and it's very layered. So we have this, it's I don't know, 10 different layers of verifications that it goes through so that it comes out the other side with, you know, um, verified. Here's all the linkage. You can click on it. You can go back the audit trail and see exactly where it came from. You can see the chapter and verse and everything else. So this is great, 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 great in regulated industries like law, like medicine, medical billing, stuff like that. Fantastic. But um, access to benefits, government stuff, fantastic. So it can go and do that. Now, in real time, it could probably do it too. There's going to be a little bit of lag, a few seconds, probably not that much, but it would be pretty exciting to see a little ticker on a newscast being like verified, verified, not verified, not verified, not verified, flat out wrong. You know?
Yeah. So that's also what I wanted to ask you. Like, so when you started seeing, like, and uncovering all these fraud patterns, basically, because it's just fraud, right? It's just like hallucinations. In this case, if you're not using them, that's hallucinations, but if you're actually using them, that's fraud, as you said, right? So when you started uncovering all these fraud patterns, how did that change how you viewed the system?
It did a couple of things. One, it made me really nervous for a lot of people because people are using AI to submit applications for jobs. They're using AI
Mm,
to submit applications for. I had a gal, so we have grant stuff. I had a gal send me her grant application.
mm,
So they had submitted a grant application. She's like, Sam, I ran this through AI, but I went and checked everything. I know it's correct, but I'm just going to let you take a look at it. I
mm.
took it, I sent it back to her with, here's 27 issues with what you sent.
Whoa.
Four of these things are significantly misrepresented. And she was like, oh no. I'm like, yeah, you probably, and here's why. Not not just it's misrepresented, like here's why, and chapter and verse of everything. And she was so like nervous, and it's funny. She reached back out to me a couple of weeks ago, and she's like, Sam, I did not get the grant that I applied for, and I'm glad because if I had, it would have been based on false
Sure.
premises.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even though she had checked it, she double checked it. It wasn't. So it made me nervous about a lot of good people out there, um, you know, accidentally committing fraud, essentially. Uh, but it also made it very apparent to me that it's very easy for people to commit fraud and make it sound authoritative
Mm.
because they can use this. It can make up who you are and what you've done in the past. It sounds completely legit. And if the receiving entity that's delivering the benefit, they don't have their own system like ours, because there's not one. There's some that are doing pretty good out there, but none of them to have the efficacy that we have. At least not one that I've seen anyways. We've tested a bunch of them. So it's like how if they don't have a way to screen and tell if the people applying for grants or whatever resumes, if they don't have that system, they can't tell easily that it was all made up or part of it was made up. And
Of course.
so now it's hurting both ends.
Right.
And then on the other side, like if we really want to dig in, on a company's history, especially a public entity, you can start pointing out some things that raise the hair on the back of your neck. And so um, we'll see. I think,
Because like why? Because
because one of the things that's beautiful about AI, and look, I'm not, my partners are, we aren't the only ones that can do this. Lots of people can do this piece right here, which is
sure.
they can go out and they can take in 100,000 bits of points of data or billions of points of data in their state, in their city, from all the tax rolls and voter rolls and everything else, and they can ingest that with AI and then go back and look and see what's happening with the money. They can do that today because most of that information is public. A lot of that information is public. The problem is their stuff's going to have a level of error that's 15 to 20%, maybe higher. And so they're going to be, I'm pretty sure that this guy's doing a bad thing. Because our system can go and verify and everything else. We have a very, very high rate of efficacy of saying this looks interesting and authorities should probably investigate. Um,
Okay.
and so
So that's also another type of fraud that you have found already
I
with your
I
system.
don't know. I don't know. Right. All we can do
Of
is look
course,
at
I
the
mean, like you're
data.
not
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
detective or
Right.
yeah, or the police, but like there are things that point to say, this doesn't match to what this input is being, the output is this, but the input is,
Yeah.
doubtful.
And maybe, and I can see this being completely legit, right? Like they just didn't report the stuff or it didn't get published correctly or something. So it may be
Mm,
completely benign.
sure, sure.
But if I was an arch or if I was a big villain out in the world today in the nonprofit space, I would probably stop immediately because or go find something else to do because people are going to start using AI to look at them and they're going to start putting together the dots.
Mm,
And
yeah.
then we should never have anything like what happened in Minnesota because what they did was all public data. They just didn't put together the dots. And now you can because you have AI.
I see. I see. So okay. So that's also a question that I wanted to ask. So who benefits the most from your platform, and
Yeah.
who might feel threatened by it?
So the the thing that our platform does really, really well is it helps nonprofits, small businesses, uh, small, medium, large nonprofits, disadvantaged businesses. So you maybe have minority owned or a veteran disabled veteran owned business or something like that. It can help you find funding for your business, for your nonprofit. Like it does that really well. You can put in there like, hey, I want to find, a foundation that helps me with this. It can help you get there. And there's just so many different things that it can do. That it does really, really well. The people who might be threatened by that, or um, grant systems and companies that they never really did a great job of putting together all the grants in the world. One, two, they never did a great job of providing value to their users. They were just, a basic product to manage grants. Those folks should be threatened. What they really need to do is do some development on their systems to make them better. They really should make their systems better because there's no excuse anymore. Why, I know a big grant entity, they raised, I don't know, $50 million last year, and their system is still looks like it was built in 29, I don't know, 2015 or so, 2010. There's no AI in there. It doesn't help. It doesn't do the things that it could do today.
Mm. Okay, okay. And let me ask you something else, and this is more towards like impact and strategy, right? Um, you've told me before that you have a big goal. Uh,
Yeah.
so why don't you talk about that goal of helping out like 2 billion people out of poverty? And because I wanna dive and actually see that from you.
So we built this company to lift billions of people out of poverty. It's called Brightstead Technologies, a venture studio, which means we create the tech that aligns people with the resources they need, money, the right education, the right job training, et cetera. And we're doing that all over the world. So we have over 250 something countries and territories already in our database, grants, funding opportunities. All that is in grantauthority.org. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, I want to go check out and find out what monies could be available to me, grantauthority.org is the site you want to go to. And we are finding grants, funding opportunities every single day. So if you don't see one today or 10, come back tomorrow or come back next week and you may find 10 that weren't there last week.
Mhm.
So 2 billion people, to get 2 billion people out of poverty in this world where AI is taking a lot of jobs, we're using AI to address the issue. And it's a crazy complex system that we are building. But when people get to access it, it is very simple for them with a simple question. What's available for me? And that's
Mm.
all I need them to be able to ask, query. And for Jen or Grant, these are AI agents that we have, Jen or Grant or Percy, one of those agents will come back to them and say, hey, Tom, here's what's available to you. Hey, Sally, here, uh, Marguerite, here's what's available to you in your location based off your salary, based off your income and everything else. And I don't need any of your data. I don't want your personal data. Your personal data never leaves your device. It stays there. We're not like these systems that are trying to take all your data from you. We want you to become successful. And those are the systems that are coming out, or either already out now or coming out, which is how to help you right now in your current situation and tomorrow and the next day to lift yourself from whatever position you are, $0 a month, $10,000 a month to the next level, and not in some spammy or grimy sage from a stage way that all you need to do is believe and manifest yourself into success. Like, no, here's concrete, do this today. And that becomes your access points. And that's how you get out. And that's what we're doing.
Is there anything that you think needs to happen structurally for this to be realized?
So a lot of what we are building is very expensive to build. So if we're talking about internally, structurally, yeah, we've got some work to do. The core inventions are already done. We've already filed for patents on those core inventions, about 200-ish
Okay.
patent applications. So when I say we've invented stuff, I mean we've really invented stuff. Um, and we've got a very amazing law firm. They've done IP for Google. They've done IP for the best of the best out there. And then so now it's just the remaining pieces of the pie to deliver the product to the user. And what's great is like, you know, I'm going to take your stuff. You don't know what you're doing. Like, get out of here. Like you don't have an idea because you're just trying to make money off of people. We're not trying to make money off of poor people. We're trying to empower poor people to be able to get the access they need. When I say poor, I mean it could be me, it could be you, anyone who's
And I think, yeah,
struggling
I
in
think
life.
that's the
Yeah.
correction that we have to make. It's not poor people. It's just poor of knowledge, right? So it's just like
Hmm.
ignorant people, and I don't mean that in the bad way. I just mean like, for example, my son Miguel, he is going to university, this year, right? So he's just graduating in next week. Actually, he's graduating, and then he's gonna go off to college, right, to university. And it's been so crazy just to find grants or help or scholarships and stuff like that, because I think they purposely don't make it easy for you.
Right.
And we're kind of, we're not poor, but we're not also like, millionaires or anything like that. But at the same time, we're looking, and we it's just difficult. The systems are difficult to navigate. So I think
They're impossible to
they're
navigate.
impossible to navigate. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Like
you don't even
nobody.
not even at sea anymore. You're like, you think that you're at sea and you're in a little pond,
Yeah.
and you don't even know how to get there. And that's how
Yeah.
I see it sometimes. And I think your
It,
system could be that uh, tool to help us get to the other side.
it we are building it for that exact purpose. It's the tool to get to the other side. And you're right. Middle class needs it. Upper middle class needs it. How do you bring value into the world? How do you grow from where you are to the next phase? And what does it even look like depends on who you are, where you're born, where you live, the current resources available to you. Nobody knows the 500 government entities and the 12 to 13,000 nonprofits, but we do because we built it. Now, if you go into AI right now and you go to Claude and you're like, hey, what are some resources that can help me? It's going to come up with a list of five, maybe 10.
Mm.
And then if you ask for the URLs, the links to those, some of those are going to be
Yeah,
hallucinated.
correct. Incorrect, because I've tried it.
Some of those, right, right. You've tried it. That's the problem. It's the problem. Claude will not fix this for you. ChatGPT will not fix this for you. We had to create the system. And so we did. We have hundreds of millions of records in there, tens of millions of organizations around the world that can help you in your time of need. And those are the things that are coming out. The demand signal has been insane. I will just tell you, we've got secretaries of the US nation requesting our assistance. I've been helping governors right now with things that they need that our system can help them with. We are potentially rolling out into 5 countries via their judicial systems to help their attorneys have access to a legal resource that has all of their legal documents, and it can search it without hallucinations. I mean, everything from companies wanting to be able to search their own data without giving it to ChatGPT or Claude, being able to keep their own sovereign data clean and have zero hallucination search inside, like Google search inside your terabytes and 110 years of company history, being able to get in there and figure out what exactly happened and the truth of things. Or just find a document you can't find from 7 years ago when you talked to Lewis about this deal. And you're like,
Right.
I know it's in my documents. It's somewhere in there. No, it's in folder, 97, sub paragraph, blah, 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 blah. Here it is. Like that to
Yeah.
make our lives easier because we got to have integrity in the system. We have to have integrity in the system. I'm going to say that again. If you care about integrity of data and you care about integrity of benefits, you care about integrity of just the ability of finding out what can actually help you versus some theater marketing nonsense that ChatGPT gives you. Like that's it. Like yeah, unfortunately, we're the only ones. Hopefully there's more that come out soon. Right now we're the only ones.
Do you see yourself as primarily as a real estate investor, a technologist, or a systems architect?
Um,
How do you see yourself?
I would see myself as a disruptor.
Mm.
as a disruptive capitalist. I believe in the power of capitalism when used properly.
Right.
So we can have a soul and deliver value and help people and make a lot of money in the process. You can
I
be
love that.
soulless and just,
Yeah.
you know, try and build a massive machine that enriches you. I'm going to build $1 billion company and I'm going to be in charge and I'm going to do this and I. Like,
Yeah.
you're the wrong fit.
Yeah.
You don't
That,
belong with
which
us.
is actually the next question that I wanted to ask you. Like, so what kind of people do you want around as this thing scales?
So, yeah, great question. So, and we're looking for more people like this, whether investors or future partners or real people who have been through real pain and understand what it means to deliver a product at a world-class level, um, who care deeply about other human beings. And if I ever hear them say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to build $1 billion company and I'm going to make you so rich, Sam, and I'm going to say, I don't want you. I don't care about that. What I care about is, are we going to help 2 billion people get out of poverty or what? And if you're not here to help 2 billion people get out of poverty, and oh, by the way, you're going to make plenty of money in the process, then then you're the wrong fit. You're not the right fit.
Yeah. Yeah.
As an
No,
investor, you're
I
not the
like
right
that.
fit. As a board member, you're not the right fit. As a partner, you're not the right fit. Like that's it.
I think it goes back to having integrity, and as you mentioned integrity from the point of view of the data integrity, right? But
Mhm.
I'm also talking about people integrity. And you have to have that while you grow, because you cannot be there all the time to see and supervise what these people are doing. And if you trust those people, that's how you grow, because you trust that leg or that side of the business is going to be taken care of. Otherwise it doesn't grow, or if it grows like a cancer. It grows like,
Yeah,
with somebody bad at the top that is going to poison everybody else.
that's exactly it. And I think this latest guy who came in with like, oh, I'm so committed to your vision. As soon as we had a document, it was like, I. I remember like one of the last things he said to me was like, Sam, what are your other partners going to say when they see how much better I do than them? And I'm like,
Oh, that's great. God.
they're not going to say anything because you're not going to be a part of it.
Right,
All
right.
right. Like, I that's not what this is about.
Yeah.
It's not about you, bro. It's about the people that we're trying to
Yeah.
assist. That's it. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. What's one thing that you think people misunderstand about, you know poverty in this case?
I spent a decade in global health. All right. I've been all over the world working with foreign militaries, governments. I've built hospitals and clinics and I've done all that stuff. Access to medicine is important. Access to healthcare is important. Access to affordable housing, where I spent 7 years, important, critical. You can be right across the street from a hospital with free healthcare, living in a rundown building or a nice building, and you're still poor. Those things do not get you out of poverty. What gets you out of poverty is access to resources, whether that's, well, we can teach them. You can teach them a lot of things, but if they don't have the resources, the training to get the right job, if they don't have the resources, the training to, even better than getting a right job is to create a business that creates value, and then you hire people to fulfill that value and you grow. That's how America got out of poverty, was because of entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
That if you can, that's the key. The key is access to financial resources. We forget that poverty means no money. It doesn't mean no healthcare. It doesn't mean no snacks. It doesn't mean bad food. It means no money. They have no money. When they have money, and I'm talking about free money, I'm talking about access to create money in a system that rewards value with money. That's it. That's how people get out of poverty.
Mm.
All the other stuff is great, it's good, but it's all ancillary to, can a dad or a mom make enough money to get themselves and their family out of the mud hut or out of the trenches into a place where they can now live and live a fulfilled life and give back.
Great, great. Let me ask you one last question. So, as this AI platform, as I call it,
Mhm.
succeeds and scales, so what's the legacy that you think you and your partners and the system that you're creating are going to leave behind?
So I'm going to blow your mental bubble here for a second. I don't want to go down as any one of the other folks out there. What I want is Brightstead, which literally means a lighthouse or a light in dark places.
Hmm.
I want it to be 1,000-year company. I want to die and my successor die, and then all of them building a system that continuously helps deploy the things that people need to elevate themselves and get out of whatever level of poverty or sadness or whatever that they are in to the next level and to benefit mankind forever. 1,000-year company means we build a system with the right people. Any single one who wants to come in and take control, and I'm going to build this, and everyone else is going to like me more than the others, and they're going to be jealous of me. Like none of that crap. We can't have that in 1,000-year company. You need people who want to build a legacy that they are proud of that has nothing to do with I pinned all these medals on my chest, right?
That's great. Yeah, no, that's a great question. That's a great answer for that question. And with that, we are gonna finish and wrap this up. I love that you're here, man, and I'm really grateful that you actually took the time to be here with us. And let's hope that we can do this again in a few weeks or months or whatever when you're more relaxed, because I know you're stressed out about the growth that you're actually
Building.
experiencing right now.
We're just building. The demand, it's just insane. The demand has been insane.
But that's a good problem to have. That's a
It's a
very good
good
problem to
problem.
have. You know,
Mhm.
people are seeking you out. People are. I think people are already seeing the value that you can bring them, and that's why
Mhm.
they're seeking you out. You know.
There is because our website's not that good, and we're not doing any marketing.
Right. Right.
They've
Yeah,
just
exactly.
either, yeah, they've either been at a place where I was, I heard me talk about it, and then they asked, and we delivered something to them, and they were like, "Holy crap, this works!" I'm like, "Yeah, it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
It works. I told you it worked. I didn't wasn't making stuff up."
That's very good. That is very good. But anyway, thank you, Sam, for being here. Thank you guys for listening and watching. And we'll get you on the next one.
Thanks, Lewis.